Ayo, Sacred Bones, what's up? I love you. I love Sacred Bones. One of my favorite labels, one of the most refreshing and creative labels out right now. Tons of talent on their lineup. But I gotta call you out real quick, because you did my boy dirty. You did Blanck Mass dirty. You fucked him over because you misspelled his album title. You serious? Blanck Mass has returned, Benjamin John Power, with his fourth album, Animated Violence Mild. He's an electronic producer that I have enjoyed for quite a while now. His music expected to punch you in the face several times on every fucking song, relentlessly. His tracks are typically quite aggressive. We're talking huge walls of sound, harsh textures, just hammering drums. The guy is completely just unfiltered with the way he presents his music. You know, his last record before this new one was called Worldeater, and if that title alone didn't scare you, the album itself sure will. One of my absolute favorite releases of the decade. I think this album is fantastic. It's uncompromising, it's brilliantly paced, and it makes you feel like you're being chased by some unstoppable force that you have no choice but to run away from, and you're just like helplessly running and dying past every fucking corner, just going wherever you can, just hiding, just like get the fuck out of here. That's how this album such an elegant description, I know, but yes, that is how this album feels, and it gets my blood pumping every time I give it a spin. I would highly recommend going and listening to it. Anyway, Animated Violence Mild is his new one, and given how much I really like Worldeater, I was really excited for this. I was hoping to get destroyed once again, because Blanck Mass just does that oh so well. You know, I was expecting quite a thrill, and let me tell you. Let me fucking tell you. I think this is his best album. I think it's pretty clear, going back to his second album, Dumb Flesh, the first release he put out on the Sacred Bones label, what he wanted to pull off with his music. His sound got more relentless, it got more abrasive with that record, but he didn't really find his footing and really fulfill that vision until Worldeater dropped, I think. Because as good as Dumb Flesh is, it's a really solid record right there, but, you know, you can tell it's kind of meandering or sort of tiptoeing around the ground it really wants to break, but Worldeater just fucking blazes through it. And I think it gets even more extreme on this new one, honestly. To be fair, like the sound palette and what this thing instills within me is ultimately similar in a sense to Worldeater. You know, it's relentless, it's loud, it's aggressive, but there is something kind of almost slapstick to the way it's presented on this new one. I think Worldeater, by comparison, is much more on the abrasive and just menacing side. This album has more emphasis on groove, on melody, and at times it feels a bit exaggerated, a bit cartoonish, and that kind of adds to how freakish this record feels. I feel like this album is kind of relishing in the havoc it's causing, more so than Worldeater was. And I do believe that is kind of an idea he had going into this record, given the album title and the album cover and his little Bandcamp description. Apparently, consumerism is an underlying theme he had sort of in his head as he was making these songs. And I can definitely see how that plays into this record, because some of these melodies and builds are just so damn grand and gorgeous, but on the other hand, there are points that feel really devilish and evil on this record, like the track Death Drop. This track sounds like an endgame boss fight, just kind of appearing slowly and getting bigger and bigger, and the whole song is just the entire beast just like appearing in front of you. And the more the track goes on, the more intimidating it feels. And yeah, it just did not let up. This album is paced a lot more provocatively than Worldeater was. You know, Worldeater had quite a few moments of breathing room. Tracks like Please, Hive Mind, that like 3-part track, you know, both had more kind of dreamy moments. And whilst there is one track on this album that does give you that sort of space, outside of that, this thing is just in your fucking face, and I kind of love it for it. It's just unapologetic, and it just kind of adds to the extremity of this record, which I think is just its biggest strength. And that one slower track, it's called Creature/West Fuqua. It starts off with the Creature portion of the track just being this one really like overwhelming wall of synth, which then transitions into these like little harp arpeggios that just sound really wistful and mesmerizing. Then it comes right the fuck back with the track No Dice, and bro, when those like synth chords burst in, it's the most awesome fucking shit. I fucking adore the groove on this song. I love the way the vocal samples just so harmoniously work alongside the drums, and just how kind of like the way they kind of clash against each other in just a really nice and just kind of wonky way. It's just so weirdly satisfying, and then when it gets accompanied by that bass, it all just kind of falls into place, and it's just such a satisfying moment. Some of those synth melodies too are just so fucking triumphant, you know? And I think it segues quite well into the closer, Wings of Hate, which to me is the least eventful. Whilst this is still a track I definitely enjoy, I think it works as a nice little final statement that kind of wraps up everything you've heard already into one like tight little track. Even though I don't really think it pulls off any of those things particularly differently, I still think it works nicely as like as a final sort of bookend off moment. I still do really enjoy like the buried vocals that are just kind of shrieking out, sort of like trying to escape the song in a sense. It's kind of how it feels. And the synths on this thing are just so damn rapid fire. This is probably the speediest track on the record. I wish it didn't like fade out though. I don't like the fade out ending. That feels like a minor cop out, but you know, it is what it is. Is A Parasite 2, that track sounds like the most insane anime boss fight in history. That little like little vocal bit is so sick. Like Worldeater to me felt way more just like harsh and just evil. Where there are moments that kind of sound like they're having fun and just like kind of embracing the insanity on this record. That just gives it a whole different character to me. And then you have Hush Money too, which has these awesome piano keys mixed into the insane huge walls of sound and shit. It incorporates some delicate pianos on this track, which I think works surprisingly well. And one more thing I have to praise with this record is the transitions between track to track. Bro, when Death Drop transitioned into house, but that was perfect. I was like, fuck me. This is such a good app, bro. How in the fuck are some of you guys saying, bro, this is so much worse than what the fuck are you here? I think these are the most satisfying, exciting, and blood-pumping tracks he's made yet. I think he twists his sound to a bit more of a cartoonish context that just kind of elevates the freakishness to me a little bit and makes for an incredibly exhilarating listen. I adore this album 2 bits. It's my favorite album this year so far. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 score. I think it deserves a 9. This thing has been amazing to listen to. I have been smiling. I've been grimacing profusely listening to this phenomenal record. And I'm amazed he topped Worldeater to me. Bro, Worldeater is still incredible. Bro, Worldeater is the shit, but like this one just takes everything I loved about that thing and just packages it into this twisted, just devilishly satisfying record. This album's like demonic at its core, but it has sort of a presentation that's a bit glossier, a bit more bright and motivational with some of the more melodic moments and shit. But my god, yeah, I am all over this thing. I really want everyone to go, bro, everyone watching this, if you don't know who Blanck Mass is, if you ain't never listened to this album, please go listen to this album right now. Go on a walk and just get lost in this record right the fuck now. Come back to this video, comment how you felt. Let me shut the fuck up. Thank you for watching my review. I'll see you on the next review.